The federal government is trying to trace the families of Australian soldiers who were executed by the Japanese in the Second World War. A group of 20 prisoners of war, mostly from Victoria, were shot for trying to escape. Now, as Mike Sexton reports, the men are finally being honoured for gallantry.
Bill Schmidt will soon be 93. That he's lived to such a grand age is remarkable, given he almost died of amoebic dysentery during 3.5 years as a prisoner of the Japanese. And perhaps just as remarkable is his decision not to harbour hatred for his former captors.
I've got no animosity with the Japanese. I mean, I've forgiven them 50 years ago. Weary Dunlop and I talked about this a lot.
But when the Japanese foreign minister apologised in March to a group of former prisoners, Bill Schmidt wasn't interested.
Well, you've got quite a different government in Japan. They wouldn't even know anything about the war.
However, there is one select group of former POWs whose recent honouring has been welcomed by all. The Department of Defence is to award 20 servicemen who were killed while attempting to escape from the Japanese posthumous commendations for gallantry. The decision is the result of the persistence of retired Adelaide defence scientist and military history buff John Bradford.
No Australian prisoners of war, or basically none, in the serving in Malaya, Singapore, who'd attempted to escape, had been recognised.
During the Second World War, servicemen who lost their lives making genuine escape attempts were eligible for the award of posthumous mention in dispatches.
Over the years, I have encountered or met a number of the next of kin, and obviously when I first told them of the news, they were absolutely flabbergasted that this had occurred in 1945, that the men had been overlooked for recognition.
Very brave boys, and they were only boys.
Among those John Bradford contacted was Judy Mutimer, who was only 8 years old when her older brothers Frank and Aubrey went to war and were taken prisoner by the Japanese.
I think the last communication we had from Orb was on the fall of Singapore. After he'd been wounded and went to hospital, he sent a telegram to say that he and his brother are well, don't worry.
Aubrey Emmett was among a group of prisoners who broke out of a camp at the Burmese port of Tavoy. After several days on the run, they were recaptured and executed.
I saw them coming back in a truck, and they were standing up in the back of the truck. Oh, God, here we go. They was brave as hell to do it. I'll give them that.
For years, John Bradford was frustrated that no officials would listen to the stories of the likes of Aubrey Emmett and the oversight keeping them off the honour roll. Then in July 2009, he was asked to make a submission to the Honours and Awards Tribunal. And after considering his work, last year the tribunal agreed he was right.
It should have been done many years ago when the families of those fellows were still alive and could appreciate it. Now you're getting into a generation that probably never ever knew who they were and just knew of them, perhaps.
66 years after they were originally recommended for awards, the commendations have brought a mix of emotions for relatives and former comrades. And for John Bradford, confirmation of the importance of history and finding the truth.
At last, somebody had listened to the various arguments I'd been putting up for years, and had decided that I had a strong case for these men to receive recognition.